Hey everyone, and welcome to the Theme Park Loopy podcast. This is our Festive Special 2023. Yay! Everyone looked really excited. Can you hear my jingly hat? I'm wearing a jingly hat. I've asked everyone else to wear a jingly hat, but unfortunately no one's brought a jingly hat. But Sam, I think you're wearing a t-shirt there, of Christmas t-shirt. I can't hear you though.
Hello, I'm here. Hi. Yes, I am wearing a very Christmassy t-shirt. It says OMG Santa, and it's got a picture of Will Ferrell as Elf from the now modern classic Christmas film Elf.
It is a classic Christmas film, is that? It is one of the best, and it's one that I forgot about the other day when someone asked me for my favourite Christmas films. I completely forgot about Elf. I think my favourite Christmas film is probably Scrooged, which is a 1980s film with Bill Murray in, but not a lot of people seem to remember that one. Dan, how are you doing? Go on.
Yeah, I'm all right. I watched the Christmas Muppets one film yesterday. Elf is on the list to watch shortly. I've lost my Christmas hat. Last year, I went out with it for a Christmas do, and I think it didn't come back with me. I think I've only discovered this today, so sorry about that. I should have bought another hat, but I've failed. But I am wearing a Christmas jumper, but it's not an Elf Christmas jumper, so it's not as good as Sam's.
You failed me.
Sorry.
It's a lovely Christmas jumper. I'll give you that. It's very.
Yeah.
I've gone
black.
for tacky. You've gone for classy.
I've gone for the, heating's not really on and it's freezing. So actually it's quite practical jumper.
That's very good.
2023.
Yeah.
Good. Right. Well, I'm going to take this hat off because this isn't very good for audio, I'm afraid. I'll be jingling throughout. So let's try and sort this out. Right. Okay. So before we kick off with our festive chat, Sam, you've just come back from Singapore and you visited one of the Universal Park in Singapore. Do you want to give us a bit of an update about Universal Singapore and what you found over there and how you enjoyed the park over there?
Yes, absolutely. I'd love to. Sorry, I ran off. If you're watching the video, I ran off the screen and darted back. I realized my fan in my room was blowing, so that's probably going to be there. Anyway, sorry, Ryan. Ryan always gets annoyed at me because I end up having random things in my room that make lots of background noise. Basically, yeah, Singapore was amazing. Thank you. I went just a couple of weeks ago now, or a week ago rather, and it was fantastic. Singapore is a beautiful place. But let's talk about Sentosa Island. So Sentosa Island is just off of Singapore. Still connected by a railway and a bridge if you want to walk. And it is basically the main resort island of Southeast Asia. So it's made by Genting, who also do the Highlands in Kuala Lumpur. They have lots of other resorts around the world, Vegas hotels, etc. But this is home on the island to Universal Studios Singapore, there's like casinos, there's water parks, there's zoos. It's just huge. Beach clubs, luging, that was great fun as well. Like anything you could imagine in terms of resort-based entertainment is really on this island. But let's focus on USS, Universal Studios Singapore. It was phenomenal. So let's talk about the entranceways. As you enter the park, you're in a sort of plaza before you get to your turnstiles. So if you've been to any of the Universal parks, you're used to seeing the globe outside before, like usually you walk down some sort of concourse and you see the globe there before you go under the arch and go to where the turnstiles are. That is a bit different here with it being already in kind of an self-contained resort. So you just see the globe and the turnstiles ahead. Once you go through the turnstiles, you then enter your Hollywood Boulevard area. Again, this is really different because this is like a main street, if you think of it that way. But because in Singapore it rains, it's all undercover, which is really cool. So you get that wonderful boulevard. You still get a lot of the same facades that you see in other Universal parks around the world. So that is all pretty much standard. Your lion's share of coffee shops and retail some carts and things, and it's great in the morning because it's all lined with street performers and things. So as you enter down that park, you at the end of the kind of Hollywood Boulevard area, the park expands, so it opens up into a lake, which is your kind of hub and spoke, I guess, design. I guess it's more of a donut, but there we go. And you have a choice. You can either go to the right or to the left, and the right will take you around the circle, and the right going anti-clockwise or clockwise. I don't know which one that is. It will take you round. You can go through New York and then round to the other various parts of the park, or you can go the other way and do it in the reverse. We chose to do it through New York because New York just felt natural, off to the right. And it was great because that is home to Sesame Street and to Steven Spielberg's Lights, Camera, Action, which is awesome. If you think of back in the day, if you remember Disaster or Twister, those kind of practical simulator kind of rides where it runs very much on a clockwork basis every sort of 10 minutes. It will do its automated show and then reset. It's like that, but it's all hosted by Steven Spielberg. So it's really magical because it has that nostalgic feeling of all the pre-shows are hosted by Steven walking a soundstage, and it's all very, very cheesy, classic Universal. And it really made me miss the kind of the noughties and 90s of what Universal Studios was. Not that I was really there for the 90s, but I was there for the noughties. It was great. It was lovely, and it's a really cool effects that they've got in there, and the show itself was awesome. Loads of practical effects and things. So you come out of Lights, Camera, Action. You keep walking down New York Street, and you'll come to the Sesame Street kind of area portion. That's home to a really sweet little dark ride, Elmo's Space Spaghetti Chase. I think it's something like that. It's a cute little Peter Pan style suspended, I wouldn't say coaster. I don't know if it technically comes under as a coaster. Somebody out there will be able to correct me if not, but it is like a slow moving dark ride, but almost on a suspension from above, which is really cool. And we keep moving down New York, then keep going down, and you can turn, or you will have to bear to the left, which then takes you into sci-fi zone, Sci-Fi City. Thank you. Sorry, getting all these names wrong here. Sci-Fi City is home to Transformers, which again, carbon copy of every other Transformers out there. Very good. One thing that perhaps from an entertainment point of view made Universal Studios Singapore stand out, especially a few years ago now, was they were the first park to have Transformers, as in the characters, to meet them. So it's really nice because they've still kind of stayed true to that and stay strong to that. And they still have those guys there. I think they had Bumblebee, Megatron, Optimus Prime. That's what we saw on the day. But they were out there constantly. They were really, really quite proud of that, to have kept that, which is lovely. If you keep walking down, as you kind of exit the underpass, you're now exiting where the roof is above you, and you're going out into the outside world. So the lake, just for your own visual mind, if you're listening to this, the lake is on your right, and you keep moving forward, and you come underneath the two dueling, quote unquote, coasters there, which is based off of Battlestar Galactica. So that's Human and Cyborg, based off the films. Two different coasters, two different styles. One of them is Cyclone, or Cyborg, sorry, is a Hanyin.
I think they're Cylons, I think. Is that right?
Cylon, thank you.
We need to correct that because we will have someone kicking off about that.
Simon, thank you. Apologies. Yeah, Simon, that was it. It's a lovely inverted coaster, really great, really forceful, really intense. To be honest, I sat on it thinking, I actually said to the person that I was with, I sat next to her, and I was like, this just isn't going to be intense, because it's. I just couldn't imagine them having something intense at like the only family / kind of theme park in Southeast Asia, the biggest landmark theme park they've got there. I couldn't imagine it being that intense at all. My goodness, that whips you around. And we weren't even right at the back. We were like in the kind of mid, and that really was intense and forceful. Definitely grey out, possibly black out. Some really interesting elements. You went into a extremely intense like vertical dive loop or whatever. Like it was such a strong loop. It really flew you out your seat. And there were some great cobra rolls in there as well, just like a lot of inverted coasters do. I'm not sure on the manufacturer on the top of my head. Someone will know it out there. I apologize. I should know the manufacturer, but I don't. Human was the other coaster. That is meant to be tamer. We actually didn't prioritize that because we were on a very kind of tight for time budget. The park hours were very short. It was only 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. So we were like, we just need to get everything done. And we only had that one day. So we were like, we'll prioritize one out of the two. So we didn't do human because in my research, I'd heard that human is a lot slower and isn't as exciting. So we didn't go near it. So if anyone's done it, reach out, let me know. Then you continue moving and you come out of sci-fi and you enter the mummy, like the Egyptian area, which is home to a bunch of different, 2 attractions actually. It's home to the Revenge of the Mummy, the coaster, like a lot of its counterparts. And it's home to a kid-orientated, I think it's called Hidden Treasures of Egypt. And it's like a car driving Autotopia style attraction moving through Egyptian treasures and things. So we didn't do the kids ride because we were a bunch of adults, and although there's no shame if you like to do children's rides, we didn't want to prioritize it. So one thing that I do want to say about the Egyptian area was just the level of theming. Let me tell you, not to say that Sci-Fi City wasn't great. I mean, it was cool, but this Egyptian area, the level of compression and expansion that you felt when entering that area, they have these 2 huge sculptures and like big walls that really compress your environment inwards. So in a lot of theme park engineering and design, they're going to compress your environment when you move through something so that the landscape that you're entering, whether it's inside a dark ride like a pirate's tunnel or going into a new land, for example, Nintendo World, Super Mario World.
Are you saying that this Egyptian area is better than the river caves at Blackpool Pledge Beach? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Oh, well done. Well done, Ryan. That is a great example of compression and expansion being used. Yeah, absolutely. No, I will not say that. I will say that is still, that ride is still the best example of that I've seen.
That's the best, yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Sorry. So yes, the Egyptian area is just incredible, and the facade that the Mummy show building sits in is just enormous. Like it covers the whole front. It looks like an Egyptian temple. They even took time to create like a walkway leading up to the ride. So if you came in from kind of where the other side is, and you wanted to get that the feeling of being in Egypt, you really got the runway of the palm trees and of the kind of sculptures and the sphinxes or whatever, all leading up to the big temple there, which is just awesome. The ride itself was a wonderful mix between the Orlando and Hollywood version. Nothing too crazy in terms of standout. The dark ride section was in there with all the effects, and the coaster itself was wonderful. By that point, I'd also reveled in the fact that you could drink beer in theme parks again. So I was like, yes. And I was several beers down before riding the coaster, which was great. As that doesn't happen in the part of the world that I live in. So we continue moving on outside of the ancient Egypt area to enter Jurassic Park, arguably my favorite area of the park. This was wonderful. Very different to the other Jurassic Park areas that you will have gone to if you've done other Universal Studios parks around the world. You enter a kind of concourse where it's all outside still, so it's just kind of the light shades change to that weird looking like claw holding the lamp. You'll know what I mean if you're a Universal person. And the vegetation gets heavier, of course. And as you enter the pathway, there's like a central plaza area where they have this huge sculpture of 2 dinosaurs kind of fighting. You have a Discovery Center restaurant style situation on the left-hand side, or you can make a right at that statue where you see the big gates, the big Jurassic Park gates, which are awesome. Again, all Jurassic Park, not Jurassic World, which is lovely, frankly, in my opinion. So Jurassic Park is great. It opens up, but you really can't see anything because there is so much vegetation. A, with it being Singapore is very green anyway, naturally, but you can't see a lot. You have to keep walking through the doors and into the land further. You can move to the right as you go straight through those doors, and you'll be greeted with the entrance to the main Jurassic Park attraction, which we'll get onto a sec. Or you can go to the left-hand side where you can do the pterodactyl flyers. I can't remember what they call that now. It's not called that. It's the coaster that they have in Orlando, and it hangs from the top. I'm sure it's called pterodactyl flyers or dino flyers or something like that, something flyers. But the cool thing about that coaster is that adults can ride it too. So unlike the Orlando version, where it's kids only, adults can ride this one, which is awesome. And if you continue moving down even further straight into the land, there's a couple of flat rides and carts and things, but you see the main drop, open air, where you can stand and watch and view the boats come flying down from the drop. So let's talk very briefly then quickly about the Rapids adventure, because this is what makes this ride so cool and unique. You will have done, I'm sure, anyone out there listening, boys, I know you have definitely done the classic Jurassic Park river adventure, right?
Yep.
It's great. But this is where you're sat in like a rubber dinghy rapids. Oh my goodness, fantastic, right? So exciting, so great. It really makes it more intimate, makes it feel a bit more privatized as an experience. You're not on a mass boat of 50 people because there's only 8 of you. And you're flying along similar kind of scenes, similar vibes. You enter moments of peril where you think things are going to fly down, and they have the tipping car like in the Hollywood attraction, except in the Hollywood version it falls and drops. It doesn't in this one, it just stays tipping. And you then enter the hydro plant is what it's called. So as you're moving through, it's kind of this similar, some jump scares with the T-Rex claws that you have in the other attractions. However, we were coming to the end of the long tunnel, and suddenly there was a split track, and we were like, well, what's going to happen here? Well, there was door A and door B and a split track, like the river split in two. So we got split onto door A. Well, there wasn't anything through the door. Well, the doors behind us closed. And I kid you not, it turns out we were in an elevator. The floor started rising up and up and up and up and up, right? Because I hadn't done any research. I was spoiler free for this. But then what makes this even more, not only are you boxed in quite a tight space, right? And there's only 9 of you in this tiny boat that you've been on this dramatic journey already of plastic animatronic dinosaurs trying to threaten you if you like. It's terrifying. But as the elevator gets higher and higher, they repurposed the T-Rex moment when he comes flying down. But instead of him coming out in front of you, like in the drop, he's right in the elevator shaft with you, like overlooking your boat in the elevator shaft. And the elevator shaft comes to the top, right? It stops, and the dinosaur is right there, like in the middle of your boat. It's so close and so intimate to the point where we were like, you could probably almost touch, probably not just, but you felt like you could touch the animatronic. You were that close. So it was really quite intimidating. And then, of course, the doors open up, and boom, you're hit with a wicked drop. Generally, one of the coolest versions, probably my favorite version of that attraction I've ever done, because it is so intimate. You then, after you've left Jurassic Park, you enter Shrek, which is a whole Magic Kingdom vibe happening there. Let me tell you, they basically created a land of far, far away. There is a suspended coaster there, family coaster, which is pretty interesting, and Shrek 4D. Other than that, there's some interesting shows. There's like a show with Gingy, who's like a live puppet on stage, which is very, very interesting. If you think of Chucky at HHN, very similar vibes, but gingerbread man instead, which is great, and some good food and beverage outlets. So Shrek was a really expansive land for a 4D show. If I'm being honest, I now think 4D shows are a bit dead. I understand why we have to have them, but I think they're dead. And I particularly think Shrek 4D has kind of run its course. And I think they now need to either repurpose it with something else, or that entire land takes up so much space for essentially just a 4D show. I think, in my opinion, kill the show, as in the 4D show, and make a massive dark ride. Keep the Shrek IP because it's obviously very popular, but build a new and exciting dark ride. I feel like the 4D show is a bit old and tired now. So as you continue moving out of Shrek, you will move into, well, in fact, I think that was where we got, because a few of the areas were under construction. Yeah, that was it really for us. There wasn't, because there was Waterworld, which was available, but unfortunately we didn't get to see that show. That was at Jurassic Park. But all the other bits were boarded up because they were being worked on with Minion Land coming soon and building a Nintendo World. So that kind of side of the park was very much shut off.
Is there no Jaws?
No Jaws.
I wanna try Jaws, and obviously it's gone from Florida. It's on my hit list.
It's in Japan. It's in Japan. It's the only place, unfortunately.
Yeah, and we're hoping to head over to Japan in 25, so I'm hoping they don't close Jaws down by the time I get there. But oh well, thanks for that, Sam. I think we'll touch on that a bit more in a future episode, because I'm kind of interested in how a lot of people ask about, can you go to Singapore on a split stay if you're flying by and things like that. So it'd be good to explore some of that, I think, in a bit of a future episode.
Yeah. All I would say about Universal Singapore is it is small, but it's mighty. If you think of all the best bits of every Universal park, it's literally that just crammed into a smaller park, and it's beautiful. And just because it's small, it doesn't mean it's not as good. It is mighty, my friends.
That is true. That is true. Just because it's small, it doesn't mean it's not as good. Right. Okay. Well, let's talk about festive beverages then. So, do you want to see what festive beverage I brought today? In fact, it's not a festive beverage, it's just an interesting beverage. But I have with me an Aunt Bessie's apple crumble and custard pale ale beverage.
Wow. I'm not sure what to think of that. That sounds interesting.
Yeah. I've not tried it yet. I need to
An apple pie flavoured ale.
Yeah, it's apple crumble. Try and get it on there.
Ryan, that is so you, isn't it?
Right, Aunt Bessie's as well. You can actually get a jam roly-poly version, and you can get a Sunday roast version as well. I'm not sponsored by this, by the way, although if you do want to send me a case of beer, I'm sure that'll be fine.
Why bother eating when you can just drink your way through an entire meal?
Do you know what? It smells really, really sweet. Also, I just want to mention, if Diz After Dark or Drunk Riders are listening to that, we haven't stolen your section. We're just doing it today. Please don't send me any cease and desist letters for stealing people's bits.
We have. We're coming for you.
Yeah. And
I
Dan,
really like Diz After Dark.
Yeah, it is. It's really good. I listen all the time. Bit of a plug there. Dan, what have you got? What are you drinking today?
So I'm still in recovery from a pretty extreme work night out on Friday. So I've gone all out for tonight. I'm drinking cherry Coke from a wine glass.
That is fancy, is that?
It's pretty fancy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's cherry Coke, which is
Cherry Coke.
That's quite hard to come by.
It's the most festive of all Cokes, I assume. I don't know. I can't really back that up, but I'm going to go with it for now.
I think vanilla Coke is vanilla Coke more festive than cherry Coke, maybe. And can you even get vanilla Coke anymore? I don't know.
No, you can. I'm sure you can.
You must be able to.
I'm still going with cherry.
Yeah, not bad.
I agree. In fact, I had the other day, I had peach Fanta.
Oh.
I know. And I'm looking at the camera with a very bemused look because I had the exact same look. I couldn't believe on earth that there was a peach Fanta. Very exciting.
Have you tried the at Halloween? Did you try the What the Fanta? That was all over in Orlando. The What the Fanta. It tasted like kind of like a weird blue bubble gum type thing. It was pretty gross, to be honest.
Yeah, that sounds awful.
Oh, yeah, very sickly.
Yeah. And Sam, what are you drinking?
But I decided to go for an absolute staple classic at this season. And arguably, I would never drink this drink any other time of the year. I would say this is, well, I would say it is. It's a wonderful hot chocolate.
Oh, that's very good.
And I know it's boring, but I don't drink hot chocolate any other time of the year. So,
That's true. That's true. Actually, I've been drinking hot chocolate a little bit, and I probably don't drink it the rest of the year. I mean, you definitely don't drink it in summer, do you? I mean, if you drink hot chocolate in summer, then I just don't know what's going on. I just
Mental.
don't.
imagine that. Imagine going to the beach. How weird would that be? Imagine going on your summer holiday, right? And you're there on your beach. You're in the Algarve, and you're on the beach, and someone goes, "You're right, yeah, you're right, yeah." What you got a mug there for? Hot chocolate, isn't it?
Hot chocolate
God.
hot chocolate and Baileys. I have heard of people going to Benidorm and drinking hot chocolate and Baileys. Apparently, that is a thing. I've heard.
Right.
It's just a rumor, but I haven't been to Benidorm since I was a young child, and we only went because the marathon was on. So my parents used to marathon. But yeah, okay, cool. So just to reiterate, please don't send me a cease and desist letter. We've not stolen your bit. It's just for today. Might do it again next year. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, let's talk festive traditions because I got a bit of stick for this last year, and I want to see. I want to see again if you now had a year to reflect on this and decide that you were wrong. That I believe that the world's strongest man is in fact a Christmas tradition. Because watching burly men lifting tires, lifting cars and stuff for Christmas, I reckon that is classic Christmas. So, what do you guys think about that?
See, last year I disagreed with you, but ever since then I've been regretting that bit of feedback, and I've been really excited this year about watching really beefy men, really sweaty, muscular men on the TV signifying Christmas. And I think that's a really interesting, novel Christmas tradition that you've brought to a wealth of people. And it's
Yeah.
perfectly normal. And don't let anyone else tell you
I
otherwise,
love
Ryan.
it. I love World's Strongest Man. It's great.
You know what? There's never a time when I don't need sweaty, burly men on my TV. So I need to I need to be doing this now as a new tradition. I don't think I'm going to be able to find that kind of content out where I live right now, but I think maybe I can live stream it or something
Yeah,
on Christmas
maybe.
Day.
I'm
Is
sure-
it on Christmas Day they show this? They show the men in the hot pants. When do they show that?
They don't
When
wear hot.
does
They
that
don't
come
wear
on?
hot pants.
Well, speedos or whatever.
They don't wear speedos. They're actually athletes. Like they are athletes, and it's a really tough sport to get into. The current world's strongest man, or at least the current world's strongest man, because it actually happens in the summer, and then it gets aired over Christmas. So we already know there's a new world's strongest man. I don't know who that is, but the last 2 years has been one of the Stoltman brothers, not Luke Stoltman, Tom Stoltman, who's British, well Scottish. Luke Stoltman has been Europe's strongest man. He's his brother, and I think they might have a younger brother coming through as well. So the British do pretty well at it. We'll have to see this Christmas, but I don't know if they show it for like a few weeks. I'm sure they show it for a couple of weeks up to Christmas and then up to New Year. And I think I'm sure they show it on Boxing Day. And I think the final might be on New Year's Day, something like that. So yeah, I suggest watching World's Strongest Man. Sam, what's your favorite Christmas tradition?
So my Christmas tradition is. Can I just say actually really quickly about the world's strongest man? I I just need to say that that does feel like a very Boxing Day thing. Boxing Day is sort of slightly unhinged, isn't
They used
it?
to have
You know what I
wrestling.
mean? Like,
They used to have wrestling, didn't they? You had Big Daddy and haystacks and all that stuff kind of going on. Yeah.
yeah, right? Like Boxing Day is a wild west. You never know what you're gonna get. Some people do board games and dinner. Some people do World's Strongest Men. Some people do that the trolley racing where you get in shopping trolleys and you race from pub to pub to pub. That's done in Crawley. They do one of them. So it's such an unhinged day because everyone does something so different.
I think there's a cheese. I think there's like a cheese wheel race type thing that goes on down south.
Is that on
somewhere.
Boxing Day? The cheese rolling.
I think so. And then there's bog snorkeling, isn't there? That happens as well. That's another thing.
Yes.
Bog snorkeling. Do you know, if people are watching this who are not in the UK, they're probably thinking, what is wrong with you all? Like, surely you should just be, like, cozied up watching TV. But no, we want to go bog snorkeling, cheese wheel racing, and all sorts
So
of mad stuff.
cheese racing, yeah, is basically this bizarre tradition. I don't know why or how it started, but they go up to this particular hill in the UK and they will roll this whole wheel of cheese. And the game is that you have to try and catch the cheese rolling, but it's on such a dangerously steep hill that people will try, right? Everyone will go. There's like queues of people, but it's so dangerous. There's ambulances parked to the bottom because people break everything. And like I think the guy that is actually famed and famous for catching the cheese. I mean, you got to hand it to him. I mean, I think he's missing like 10 teeth, but you got to hand it to him because he always catches that blooming cheese and you just tumble and tumble and tumble down this hill. It's actually really dangerous.
Oh dear. So what is your Christmas tradition? Because I think we talked about everyone else's.
Sorry. Yes. So my Christmas tradition is on Boxing Day. That's the day after Christmas. We always go and see a mummers play. Now I know what you're thinking. What on earth is a mummers play, right? It's basically a very traditional folklore-based play that they would do outside of pubs traditionally or taverns or whatever, and it would be accompanied by Morris dancing. So it would be Morris dancing, which is like folklore UK paganistic dancing that we do, and then it was a play, good versus evil, kind of a Christmas story, but not, and it's kind of St. George and fighting evil or whatever, and the good versus evil classic pantomime stuff. But what's so lovely about it is it's done, the one that we go to in particular, it's always the same story, but it's just done by this really local group of old men that just enjoy Morris dancing and just go down to the pub and put on this show with these like props from the 70s or 80s or 90s, you know what I mean? These old props, and they're all kind of, they've got repairs and they're patched up, and it's just all the locals and communities from far and wide come down and watch this silly pantomime, and it's just really bizarrely English. And we do that every single year.
See,
Alas, not this year.
Yeah, see, I didn't realize that Morris dancing was a Christmas thing. I've just been out today and come across some Morris dancing. I thought it was a May thing that we did in May. Like, I don't know if you guys did this at school, but you used to do the maypole, and you kind of danced around the maypole, and I don't know why.
Yeah, no,
But
I
the
thought it
thing.
was a May thing as well. But then when I went to London a couple of weeks ago, they were doing some of the dancing, and I was like, oh right, so yeah, it must be a seasonal thing. But you don't see a lot of it up in the north, so I'm not sure what's going on.
No, well, we saw a bit today, and there was a lot of knee slapping and hand jangling and all that kind of stuff going on. But yeah,
They whipped their sticks out and started doing the stick tapping thing.
yeah, you got to get your sticks out and sort of bang your sticks together and
It
clap
always
hands and stuff.
surprises me. It always surprises me. You always think they're going to do some sort of massive wallop, right? You think they're going to sort of really, do some clanging, but it's the most gentle taps. It really is it's always a bit kind of underwhelming. You're like, come on, whack the sticks.
There we go. And Dan, what's your Christmas tradition?
So what I like about the Christmas traditions is they change over time. And what I've realised over the last couple of years is that we have a brand new Christmas tradition. And what we do is the day Christmas Eve, where we think we're organised, we think we're ready. Everything's, the evening of Christmas Eve, we make sure all the final wrapping's done. It's all good. The kids' stuff's ready. Everything's good. Everything's calm. We've got the tree. It all looks beautiful. And then Christmas morning, it's just absolute chaos. And there's like wrapping paper everywhere. And suddenly we realize that we're not at all prepared for the sheer scale of mess that we now have on our hands. And we realize that there's like 2 inches of just like ripped up wrapping paper all over the floor. So Steph and I, every year now, we panic and we think we need to clean this up quick because this is a hazard. If there's a fire now, we're all dead. So we run around and we like fill 2 or 3 massive bin bags full of rubbish in a desperate attempt to make the house livable again. And then by 11, we realize that we've got enough room now to walk, and then we give up. And that's basically our tradition of just panic and trying to stay on top of the mess. And then we realize that we've forgotten something like batteries. Batteries are a biggie, and have to like phone round friends and family to try and like appease the kid that's screaming.
That's the biggest nightmare, isn't it? When you forget to get the batteries, and then you can't. I think one year, my parents weirdly gave me a choice. They said something like, Santa wants to know if you want all your Christmas presents wrapped up, or does he want them all out on the floor in your bedroom or something like that. I don't know what that was about. And so I
That's
decided.
brilliant.
So
I'll try that one.
Yeah. So for whatever reason, so basically they said, well, you know what'll happen is you'll wake up and then all your presents will just be there, ready in your bedroom. You won't have to come downstairs and you won't have to unwrap them or anything.
Beautiful.
So what my parents did is while I was asleep, they actually got my presents out, and one thing they actually made, they got me a Thomas the Tank Engine train thing, and I'm sure I woke up during the night and I saw my dad putting the train together, and I was like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Shush, go back to sleep or whatever." And in the morning, I said to my mum, I said, "I think my dad were in my bedroom doing something with my toys," and he went, "No, what happens is Santa appears in a form that's familiar to you." Isn't that
They
what,
did not.
isn't that what they say
That's
about
so
aliens?
funny.
Like,
Yeah.
so that year we didn't have any problems with batteries or anything because I had to actually make the whole thing up the night before, and it was all ready to go. So
You
there
just
go.
can't win with kids' toys. Like this one year, when my son was going through his train phase, like we needed C battery cells. Like no one uses C battery cells. Like D, yeah, fair enough. Oh, hang on, was it C? It's the ones that like aren't really chosty. They're just like a little bit anyway. No one used them. We didn't have them. We panicked. And then like friends will bring in like a toy round that requires like 18 AA batteries because that's normal. And so it'll eat up all the batteries you had ready for all of the toys. Or like you think it's AA, but it's AAA, and it's just a nightmare. You just got basically, if you're a parent, you just got to pack all the battery. You've got to spend like 50 quid on batteries just to make sure that you've got the sufficient quantity of all the batteries that could possibly happen. And then you forget you bought all these batteries. So you stick them in the attic. And then one day you realize you've got like 100 quid's worth of just random out of date batteries in your attic, which I do have now. I've got little button batteries and everything. It's ridiculous. I hate blooming like everything should just come with rechargeable lithium ion batteries, but they don't. And I hate that.
So now let's mention our new sponsor, Duracell batteries. No, we were. I hate batteries.
In all fairness, Dan, I only really appreciated this the other day, but for Father Christmas, like you never appreciate, certainly as a child, like, so I have siblings, I've got a brother and a sister, right? So for my mum and dad, like Christmas, it must be just unbelievably expensive for some people because there's Father Christmas and then there's I don't know how people do it, but there's Father Christmas and then there's other gifts as well.
Well, exactly right. Last year, my son said to me, he said two lines which I'll never forget. One was, the best thing about Christmas, Dad, is that you don't need to worry about the cost because Santa brings it all, and that made me laugh. But then the worst thing that's ever happened to me at Christmas was a couple of Christmases back when I wrapped all my presents up and said it was from Santa, and Steph wrapped all of her presents up and said it was from her. So Martin was thrilled because he had loads of presents from Santa, and then asked me why I didn't get him any presents, but Mummy did.
dear.
And I felt I was like, there's no way I can't defend myself without like spoiling Christmas for him. So I just had to say, oh,
Yes.
I just left it to Santa this year. Sorry.
That's a bad move. That's a bad move. So, in terms of like films and stuff, I think we had this conversation last year, but I think we need to probably revisit this one. I think, like, are there any films that you think are Christmas films, but other people don't think are Christmas films, but for some reason you have to watch it at Christmas for some reason?
And everyone always goes with like sorry, I'm struggling to remember names.
Well, we'll have to move past.
Yippee-ki-yay.
Yeah, we'll have to move past Die Hard because I think
Die Hard,
I
thank
think we
you.
said that one before.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it always comes up, doesn't it? It's not really. Is it a Christmas film? I don't really. Strictly speaking, it takes place at Christmas. I actually haven't watched it in a while, so I can't remember.
Yeah, so Die Hard takes place at Christmas, but so does Die Hard 2, but Die Hard 3 doesn't because I think it's
Oh,
actually in the
right.
middle of summer.
I think anything that has like really nice like classical music like that you might watch together as a family, it sort of has a bit of a Christmassy feel, like Steven Spielberg kind of films with the cool sort of background music, like all of that kind of stuff, like I think has a wintry kind of homely feel to it, which is a bit Christmassy. Like E.T., for instance, like
Yeah.
it's sort of, for me, it's a bit of a Christmas film, but it's not really, but you would watch it at Christmas. So maybe that.
Yeah, I agree with E.T. and also Jurassic Park for me is a Christmas film, just because I remember getting the VHS for Christmas and then watched it about 50 times.
Yeah, that used to happen a lot, didn't it? They used to release the VHSs at Christmas.
Yeah, and the
I
Matrix. I
remember
remember the
having,
Matrix as well. That was one.
yeah, I remember having Jurassic Park 3 for Christmas on VHS, and that was so exciting. Um, so one of the films that I would say is a Christmas film for me, but is definitely not a Christmas film. There's two actually. So one is Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, which is commonly played at Christmas, but that's when we would watch it. The other one, and you may not have heard of this animation. There's this really bizarre animated movie, and I promise you this is a real thing. You can Google it afterwards. It's called The Magic Pudding. And the whole movie is based around a pudding that comes alive and lives in Australia and has to try and find his way back. And he meets like all these Australian creatures and he sings. And but he's voiced by John Cleese. And it's just bizarre because it's actually really quite rude and quite innuendo filled and naughty and strangely sexual at times, and generally it was about bloody pudding, and
A
and
sexy Christmas pudding.
but it's not a Christmas pudding, right? It's just it's a fig or some fruit pudding, but because I just associate it to Christmas because that's when I got the VHS as a child. I don't know why or where I got this VHS from. It just was always there, and we always watched The Magic Pudding. I'm dead serious. If you Google this thing now, it is the weirdest movie, and I think you can really watch it on YouTube now, for all I know. But it's bizarre. It's so bizarre. Do you know? There's one Christmas film that is an absolute modern classic, right? That I adore. I have a new obsession with Hallmark movies, right? Like cheesy, awful Hallmark films. I adore. And there's one that came out on Netflix. Called Falling for Christmas. It stars Lindsay Lohan, right, in her new movie, and it was a big deal because it was Lindsay Lohan's first return to the screen in a long time. But it was just such a cheesy, wonderful film, and I loved it so much that it's now become somewhat of a Christmas staple now.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Right. Okay. So let's move on to highlights from 2023. So I asked you to come with a highlight each from 2023. So I'll start with Sam. Have you got a highlight from 2023 that you'd like to share?
I do, I do. So we're talking like theme park highlight, right, of 2023.
Yeah, theme parks or attractions related highlight. Yeah.
Sure, sure. So, in all honesty, I kind of narrowed it down in my head to like the best experience, the best like ride or themed experience that I had all year, from a consumer point of view, right? And in all honesty, I know I've spoken about it in depth already, but it was the Rapids ride. It was the Jurassic Park Rapids ride. I was so enthralled by that and enchanted by that, just because it was so intimate and so intense. Like it was just so much fun. It was such a fun, well themed experience as a package. So it's going to be that for me.
Perfect. And Dan, what's your highlight from 2023?
I think the memory that's become like a core memory for me from 2023 was obviously we went back to Disney World again. My son was a bit older, and we thoroughly traumatized my son last time we went when he was really too young to go on any rides, and we took him on like Seven Dwarfs and stuff. And I didn't think he would go on much this time because I thought he sort of remembered enough that he was going to be a bit freaked out. But he declared the first day we were there that he wanted to go on Expedition Everest. And we were like, "Are you sure, Martin? Because this is it's an actual roller coaster. Like it does go quite fast." He was like, "Yeah, I want to go on. I want to go on that one. I'm going to be brave, and I'll go with you, Daddy, and it'll be fine. We'll as long as I'm with you, it'll be fine." So I went on it with him, and then as I've discussed previously with you guys, he passed out. But but he only passed out briefly, and then he declared that he really enjoyed it and he wanted to go on it again. And I'm not sure if he knows that he passed out and he's just forgotten the worst bit because he was unconscious. But then he went on other big rides, like because I couldn't hold him back. Like he really wanted to do all these other big rides. So like he did later on when we'd established that he could do rides and that it wasn't going to be dangerous. He went on. That's the thing. He went on Test Track and he went on Guardians of the Galaxy. Like it was a proper. By the end of the holiday, it was properly hardcore. But that first day going on Expedition Everest, like it was a memory. Like having to hold him in his seat. So yeah, if you've got kids, just a heads up. Yeah, it is quite fast, and your kids might want to do things that maybe they just need a warm up to do.
Yeah, and we got him onto Valhalla, didn't we? And he seemed to enjoy that. Or was it
Yeah, he
Sky?
loved it. He's properly in. Like now that we've got him on big roller coasters, he's properly fine with them. I think it was the first day we were there. He hadn't done any roller coasters in a while, and it's that bit where it shoots you forward and very rapidly. Like you get a little bit of a negative sort of G as you sort of go down the hill very rapidly, and it was just that moment where he sort of flopped. And I just think that maybe it was the speed, and he wasn't able to visually process what was going on because you go out that dark tunnel, and then there's this whole world out there, and then you're turning very rapidly. I don't know what it was, and it didn't happen again. But yeah, it was a memory. But yeah, he's really brave now. He'll go on anything, and it's scary. You just have to hold him back because even if he's like height appropriate, like he is still young. So just yeah, it's now like us limiting him rather than him, which is interesting.
So the second time he went on Everest, he didn't pass out. He was loving it. He was good to go.
He didn't go back on Everest. We banned Everest for the rest of the trip.
Fair enough. Good call. Good call. Oh, well, good for, he'll be a coaster junkie before you know it.
Yeah, he's only 7 at the end of the day. But yeah, he was well up for Guardians. But I think maybe the difference is Guardians. Like obviously it's a very new ride and it's very smooth. And I don't think visually there's as much in there that's so scary. Like you can't see the drops, you can't see what's happening. It just happens to you. So I think maybe that was a difference, or maybe it's just the back end of the trip and he knew what he was doing. But yeah, certainly a memory.
That's wild. So was he passed out for a while? Like, as you came out into the drop of Everest, was he like sort of?
No,
Against you
literally.
ever passed out, or was it just?
It was about 3 seconds. So he was flopping. He properly flopped, and then I pitched him back. Like I was sort of prepared just in case. So I was watching him. I wasn't looking forward. I was just looking at him. I pinned him back into a seat, and then it's sort of you fly into the other tunnel. And then he says he said he remembered there being the disco. He remembered the flashing Yeti, so he remembered the disco Yeti. So he was definitely back up and running for that bit of the ride. So it can only have been like going around that corner and back into the tunnel that he was gone for. But like it's so difficult being a parent at theme parks. It really is.
Hats off to you. I mean, a Disney trip for any parent is wild enough, but yeah, incredible and good for Martin. Cracking on. That's awesome.
Yeah, he's braver than I was at his age, to be fair. So I really can't. Yeah, I wouldn't have done that. You wouldn't have been able to pay me money to go on a ride like that.
Yeah, it's hard to know. It's hard to know what the right thing is to do. I mean, I didn't go on a roller coaster till probably I was a bit older than that. So he's doing pretty well so far. So I think my highlights from 2023. I've got two ends. Well, I'm going to have two actually. I'm going to break the rules. I'm being a rebel. So two ends of the spectrum though, because firstly, probably finally getting onto Velocicoaster, just because I'd been waiting to get on that coaster for so long, and it was great. Even though I would say that I kind of wish the launches were a little bit more powerful, but I kind of understand why they're not. I'm also really thankful for the person who managed not to throw up just before I got onto my first ride, because then it would have meant the ride would have got delayed and I probably wouldn't have got on for about half an hour. So a special thanks to that person who was looking like they were going to throw up but didn't. So big up for not doing that. And then my other highlight has to be Doncaster Fear Factory at the Pogo Club, because that was quite an intense experience going in, and kind of gave me a lot of flashbacks from the late 90s, early 2000s, going into clubs with very sticky floors and the smell, just these weird smells going on. And getting chased around by maniacal clowns was really quite a highlight. So yeah, Doncaster Fear Factory. So that's two kind of end of the spectrum there for me, anyway. Right. Okay. So so the last one that we're going to talk about is predictions for 2024. Now, I've got a little bit of a prediction, and this might come back to bite me, but I'm just going to put it out there. Is that I think potentially Blackpool Pleasure Beach may have something exciting to announce next year. I don't know anything, but I just keep seeing comments, and we know that they were doing some measurements and they had some markers out around the old Bowlerdrome, and I'm just thinking that maybe they've got something up their sleeve. So I'm going to predict for 2024 that something good may be coming to Blackpool Pleasure Beach. Whether that's a roller coaster or whether it's a family ride or something, could be something. I don't know, but I do think there'll be something coming to 2024. Sam, what's your prediction for 2024?
So I don't know if this has actually been officially announced yet or not, as I'm not sure. I'm not exactly sure. But I think there is most definitely going to be an RMC coming to Alton Towers. I am so sure. I know we've been speculating on that for years, but I think this is the year that's going to happen, or it's going to be announced at least, because obviously there's the talk of the indoor coaster, right? That's going to come. But more specifically, if we look back to earlier in the year when they were doing all these teaser videos about what was coming next into the Merlin worlds and things, they teased with an RMC Cup. One of the not Imagineers, but Merlin's version of Imagineers was holding an RMC Cup and was teasing by the fact that it was very much on the cards. And I still think they know, like Alton Towers, Merlin have suddenly got to a point now where they're appeasing more to enthusiasts and to try and get the enthusiasts on board again. I guess because they're trying to focus on the annual pass holders and things like that. Like a couple of years ago, they were really pushed for the annual pass holders to create a bit more of a community like Disney has. I mean, now I feel like they're now pushing more towards the enthusiast community. So I feel they're leaning into that a bit more. And Alton Towers, Blackpool are very good at doing that. I feel like Alton Towers are certainly getting there as the brands to really push towards the enthusiast more and more and more. And so I am sort of in my head thinking that they are probably going to announce an RMC for Alton Towers. Whether that is going to be involved with the indoor coaster that's going to be coming there, I don't know. Who knows? But I genuinely think an RMC needs to happen in the UK soon. I think it's the one thing that we're all waiting for. They know everyone's waiting for. So whether that's going to be Blackpool or Alton Towers, if it's going to be anywhere in the Merlin parks around the country, it will be Alton Towers because it will be a flagship attraction. But Blackpool is also very coaster heavy and famous for the coasters there, so it could be them as well. So that is my prediction. I am so sure that it's going to be Alton Towers.
They were hinting about like a 12-13 million pound new ride, and it was that indoor ride that,
Yes.
and people are saying it's a secret weapon. So it all sort of leads in that kind of direction, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, you got to think, why haven't they done an RMC already, right? I mean, they've been wanting one for years and years and years. We've been screaming for one, for years and years and years. And they're popular, right? There was a surge in the last 5 years of RMCs getting built all over the shop. So why are we've got a lot of theme parks in our tiny island of the UK. So why has no one taken the plunge yet? Because they don't want to just build, maybe perhaps speculation, perhaps they don't want to build just a normal RMC, quote unquote, because if you try and build what's already been built, but build it lesser, then it won't be as impactful. Like, you're not going to be still Vengeance, right? To many people. So why would we build something that's already out there, but just won't not build it as well, or it's not going to be able to compete in the world of RMCs? Do you understand where I'm coming from? So if we make it a secret weapon and make it a world first, then maybe that would then put it on an entirely different pedestal, and we don't have to compete with the other RMCs out there.
Yeah,
Perhaps.
now you've said it. It would, with Project Horizon. I think when we looked at the footprint, it's not got a massive footprint. I think the footprint is, it is a coaster size, but kind of, not a huge coaster size. Now you said RMC, I'm thinking it would be really good to have a single rail RMC in there potentially. That's something we don't have in the UK, but obviously we do have them. The Six Flags keep building them. They keep calling them, Wonder Woman, Wonder Loop, or whatever Six Flags keep calling all their rides. It's always some sort of DC related ride in it because it's in that color. It's yellow, so it's a Wonder Woman ride. There you go. But that would be good. But that wouldn't be a world's first, would it? So it's interesting. So I don't know if RMC have any other. I'll have to have a look into this because in the back of my mind, I'm thinking RMC did have. I'm sure that they announced some sort of new ride system that hasn't been built yet, and I might be imagining that, but I'm sure that I read something about that earlier last year. So who knows? Yeah, we don't know what's going on with Project Horizon, but that's interesting. Do you think that? Are you saying that Project Horizon will be an RMC related ride, or are you saying that Project Horizon will be something, and then there'll be an RMC related ride later on down the road?
I'm going to say both, in all honesty. I could see Project Horizon being an RMC, being a world first, some sort of world first element involved that is RMC. So they are the first park in the UK to have an RMC, but they've done it in a way where they can't be competing with the other RMCs out there. So they're already different, right? Because if they were just to build a family RMC, they run the risk and the danger of people saying, it's good, but it's no It's no Untamed. It's good, but it's no Wildfire. It's
Could it
Wildfire
could
Untamed.
it
Yeah,
could
it's
it
no
could it be
Wildfire.
the world's first single rail coaster in the dark? Because that's not a
Right,
thing,
it
is
could be
it?
something like that. It would chuck whatever superlative or environment thing that you can do, right, to make it a world first. But it would need to be a world first so that it stands out from the rest and therefore can't be compared to other RMCs out there. And I think it would be such a big hit for the park for the next Secret Weapon. You know what I mean? Here's an RMC. Here's a world fast first. It's in the dark. It's all weather round. It's open all year because I think that's where Alton Towers is moving into, right? It's going to be the first resort, which is 365. Um, Chessington is already pretty close to 365. Alton Towers hasn't quite officially gone 365 yet. They are very close. But I think it's just all they need is a few more indoor spaces or all weather spaces, and then it very much can become that, and it would be perfect. Didn't they start bringing back the heritage tours as well, Alton Towers this year? That was really great to see. They started opening up the towers to actually do the castle in the summer, do the tours of the castle again,
Yeah,
which
yeah, I
was
seem,
cool.
yeah, I seem to remember that. See, that's what I'd like to see more at Alton Towers. The things that they used to have before it was, really a theme park. When they used to have the train set, and they had all sorts of other stuff going on. Um, because I think, and that's the other thing, if they do want to be a 365 park, then they do need to have other things, because clearly you can't have Wicker Man open all year, you can't have Smiler open all year, you can't have Nemesis open all year. But if they had other attractions that are indoor, like they've got the dungeons, obviously, there's no reason why they couldn't operate 365. Um, they could have lots of other, Gangster Granny, rides like that. They could have quite a few rides, and if they added to that a little bit more, Hex, for example, that could run 365. Like you say, they could maybe get to a point. The only thing I would say is, and something that's quite a big one for me, is that I think they need to think. All parks need to do this. Need to think about the pricing for it to be appropriate. You know, I've said this in the past that Alton Towers is somewhere that I used to go. My grandparents had taken me to Alton Towers, but they'd have to pay for a full price ticket, even though they're clearly not going to go on the roller coasters and things. And I do think that parks need to think more about this. Are we going to have someone who is taking family members, but they're an observer? I guess they're not a participant, or maybe if you had different types of rides, you have, like, your e-ticket ride, and then you've got your you know air ticket ride or whatever. And there could be a way around that, wristbands or whatever. I don't know, but I do think they need to think about pricing from that perspective, because I just don't. I honestly think that people are put off going or taking, especially in summer, because if you've got kids, you've got to take time off work to take your kids to Alton Towers and stuff. But potentially you've got grandparents who maybe have got a little bit more time. Maybe they could take them, but maybe they're put off by doing that, by thinking, well, I don't want to spend £40 to go and not really get to do anything. It's a lot of money. I've said Pleasure Beach should do the same, because they've got a captive audience. They're at the seaside, people are there already. Alton Towers could do something similar. I get why they don't do it, because the more tickets you've got, the more pricing you've got, the more complicated it gets, the more people take advantage of it, and you've got to have all these processes in place to get around it. But I do think it's something they should do, and if they really want to be 365, they've got to be a bit more flexible, I think, from the admissions perspective, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that I don't see them doing like an all year um like theme park experience anytime soon. If they did, I think they would probably have to orient the winter like experience to be more of a family friendly kind of centric park, rather than the roller coaster enthusiast kind of shindig they've got going the rest of the time. And I think doing that would be really hard to do, because you might accidentally impact your brand for the sort of the core audience. So like maybe the risk of doing it is higher than the benefit of doing it, and the logistics of keeping a park running and getting the maintenance windows still operating and getting the park staffed, which must be an absolute nightmare. I don't know. I would like to see it. It'll be cool. I just don't. it would be really hard to do. Ryan, on Blackpool, I know you said it would be good to see like a new announcement from them. I saw a hint from the social media on Blackpool a little while ago, and I wasn't sure if they were just taking the mick or something, or whether it was an actual plan. But Hyperia is taking the throne away from them at Thorpe Park, and they said something about extending the big one by a few feet just to reclaim it. Were they being serious?
No, I think there is some work going on, and I did hear there were going to be some work going on, but I think it was actually just a complete wind up. They're definitely not. Well, they definitely can't extend the height of it unless they somehow change the land level or put jacks underneath the ride or something like that. So no, I can't see that personally. I don't think that's true at all. I think it was a bit of a wind up. And if you notice, for the last 6 months or so, Blackpool Pleasure Beach have been saying, "Come to Blackpool for the UK's tallest roller coaster." They've been wringing that towel dry all year, and we were really lucky to get on it, weren't we? In the end, because the wind alarm went on about lunchtime, and we could have missed out if we didn't get on. So you can thank me for my park tactics to get onto the big one first, and not later. So that's how we managed to get on it.
Yeah, it was a good time. It was actually nice to go on, because I'm so used to parent swapping with Steph. Like, I never ride a roller coaster with anyone apart from recently with Martin again, which is nice. But up till then, like, I haven't ridden with anyone I know for ages, and to ride with adults is like this weird, unique, cool experience. So it was nice seeing people out there and actually being at a park with theme park people again.
Yeah,
have to book more. So from my side, my prediction is, we all know that Epic Universe is coming. It's being built on schedule, and I think that Disney have got a few different issues right now. One is that the competition is getting better, and I think the other is that they've suffered a bit of a reputational setback with COVID, and they've axed lots of things, and they've had to sort of put them back. And I think a lot of people are a bit frustrated by that. So my prediction is that sometime in 2024, maybe April, when they start to sort of do sales, but maybe a little bit later in the year when things get maybe a little bit bleaker, I think they're going to have some good sales on. So I think if you're looking for an affordable Florida holiday, I think your best shout is sometime sort of August, September next year. And I'm going to be keeping my eye on things, because I'm curious as to what they'll come up with. Because like the animation studio side has suffered as well. Like they haven't had any heavy hitters for a while. So it all seems to be coming together where they're having a bit of a poor time of it. And I think this is going to affect the amount of people visiting the parks, and they're going to have to combat that in some way.
That leads on to a bit of a bonus prediction from me then, is that I think we're going to see free dining come back, at least for UK guests, I reckon. Because this is just anecdotal, I've not seen any numbers, but I reckon the numbers of people visiting Disney specifically from the UK is down, and probably quite a bit, just based on the chatter that I see, where people say, well, I normally go to Disney, but I'm either not going at all or I'm going to Universal. I've seen that all year, so I wouldn't be surprised if free dining has to come back next year just to attract people back over.
But it's in my opinion, it's all getting ridiculously expensive for Disney. I was due to go in January. Excuse me. I was due to go in January, and it was costing something like in pounds, something like £6,000 for not even 10 days. I think it was just around about 9 days, 10 days like that for a week and a half. I mean, that is absurdity in terms of the amount of money that was. And I think it's going to get to a point where people are already getting priced out, and it's just going to continue to get priced out. And if they don't up their game, people are going to start going to Universal, because they're going to be like, well, there's now 4 different parks, with Epic Universe coming in, and plus City Walk, and you'll be close to I Drive. It's a lot more affordable. And at the end of the day, if I can go there and save myself probably, sort of £1,500, £2,000, that's a no-brainer. You know what I mean? And it's going to be just a wonderful experience. You know what I mean? It's Universal's just as good. I understand Disney has their nostalgic feeling. It's good for the families. I understand that. But at what point are people going to have to start shifting the way that they vacation because of the price being too much? Also, I think Disney have slightly suffered, again, of reputation with their with Galaxy's Edge. I think it wasn't as nearly as popular as they thought it was going to be. I feel like they, no, I get if you're a Star Wars fan, it's incredible, but they didn't really market it, and they didn't really, and then they had the whole thing with the hotel, the immersive hotel, being ridiculously expensive. And actually, a bonus prediction of mine is I think that hotel space is going to be used as it's going to be turned into a dark ride. I could see that being turned into either another big dark ride or some sort of kind of coaster attraction, like indoor coaster attraction, like family coaster, because I think that's the park. That area needs a bit more thrill. Galaxy's Edge needs a bit more thrill. And I would argue and say it's such a huge space that they had there for the hotel that they would be certainly not to use it to their advantage if they can. But I think that they're now going to need to step up their game because Epic Universe is going to come in and wipe them clean. Yeah.
Agreed with everything you've said, and also I'm pretty sure I heard some rumors that they were already doing something to the Star Cruiser, which sort of raised some eyebrows. I think they're preparing it for something, but I don't think they're going to be a bit limited as to what they can do with it because it was a tax write-off, and I think once you've done a tax write-off on something, it all becomes a bit like you can't then reuse it because you've written off the assets or something. So I don't know what they're going to do, but I don't think they can open it up as a hotel. But yeah, it'd be interesting, and yeah, I think they're in a spot of bother basically.
Brilliant. All right, well let's start to wrap it up there then. Are we all ready for Christmas? Are you all feeling festive?
Ooh, very. To be fair though, no, I actually am a bit because it's been cold and a bit wintry, and there's been some, we've watched some good seasonal films, and the kids are really into it. They've just seen Santa, so yeah, I'm beginning to feel a bit Christmassy.
And are you getting into the spirit over there in the UAE, Sam?
Yeah, sure. There's some nice events in the different parks we've got around here. Not that much, obviously, with it being the culture that it is over here. So you really have to kind of go and look for it and find it. But you know what? Just because it might not be 100% Christmas outside doesn't mean you can't make it 100% Christmas inside. So I'm gonna try and force myself to get into the mood a bit more. And watch some Christmas films and hang out with friends and eat some good food. And yeah, it will come. It will come in time. I know we're only. It's crazy to think we're only just just shy of 2 weeks outside of the big day, and I feel like it hasn't really kind of happened yet for me, but it will. It will in time.
Perfect. Dan, do you want to remind everyone where they can find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Air Club. So I haven't been pumping out loads of material recently because the plane I wanted to fly in, I couldn't fly in for a while, but I'm just about to get up and running in it, and I'll be back at Leeds Bradford Airport, which is where I like to fly. So hopefully at last I'll have lots of videos coming out and it'll be great, and I'm looking forward to it. So please join me over there. I'm really near 500 subscribers, really frustratingly near 500 subscribers. I need like another 40 people. So please come and join me. I'll hit my magic number.
I like it. Go and join On Air Club on YouTube, but also subscribe to our channel as well. Why not do a double whammy there?
No, just on Air Club.
yeah, just on Air Club. Sam, remind everyone where they can find you.
Genuinely go and check out On Air Club. It is amazing. I'll give a third plug for that, Dan. It's incredible. I think I've said it before, but I'll say it again. I really think it's such a unique, bizarre, awesome concept of get people from a local community or people of particular notice or notoriety, sorry, for yourself in a plane, and and then just ask them a million questions, because what else can you do when you're however many feet up in the air? It's fantastic, so cool, such a cool idea.
Well, you can watch Casablanca, can't you?
Yeah, sure. Sure. You can find me at Coaster Sound Blog if you'd like to. I don't really post a lot of stuff out there anymore, just because I don't particularly have time in my life. However, if you want to reach out and find me, you can find me on there. I also have a podcast myself called Cruising with Crew, and it's all about life on board a cruise ship. I used to work on cruise ships, and it's with a fellow friend of mine, and we talk about life for crew and guests on board various ships. So if you're a theme park person, 9 times out of 10, you're probably a cruise ship person, because they go very much hand in hand. So join us on Cruising with Crew on Instagram as well, or Coaster Sound Blog, and follow Theme Park Loopy, and follow On Air Club. Just follow us all.
Yeah, I'll put some links below for Cruising with Crew and On Air Club, so you can click those below. But Theme Park Loopy, obviously, you can find us on YouTube, you can find us on Instagram, and you can obviously find us on your favourite podcast app as well. If you're listening to us on a podcast app and you're not subscribed or following, if you could click that button, that would be really appreciated. And if you enjoy these episodes, then why not leave us a review? We really appreciate you leaving reviews, and we thank you, everyone who's already left us a review. We thank you, and we welcome you to the Theme Park Loopy family, is what I like to say. It's been a really good year for the podcast. I think it's grown exponentially this year. It's been a really good year. I was going to count how many episodes we've done this year, but we have done a lot of episodes this year, and we must have done more episodes this year than we ever have, because I think 2021 must have been a year that we did quite a few episodes, and we didn't do that many in 2022. So well done, we did it.
Right, Ryan, I've got another prediction for you. I reckon Theme Park Loopy top 10 theme park podcast 2024.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe.
Let's make that happen.
Yeah, I mean, we regular so we feature in the places and travel charts, and we did actually beat, or we have beaten a couple of times now a podcast by BBC Radio 4. So that must mean that we're getting up there. I don't know if we've got quite the same audience as Radio 4.
I think we do. I definitely think we do.
Yeah, I think the highest we've been is number 35 in the chart, so that's too
pretty
bad.
good.
It's not too bad. It's pretty good. But yeah, Abroad in Japan is the one that we have to catch. But I love that podcast. If you've not listened to Abroad in Japan, then listen to it. But maybe also listen to our podcast as well, and maybe one day we'll get above them in the charts. I don't know. We'll have to see.
Shout out to another podcast I absolutely love is I Sexted My Boss. If you ever want a good laugh, you need to listen to that.
Someone's recommended that to me before, and I ignored it. Funny. Is it good? Right, okay.
Fantastic. It is absolutely hilarious. It's so good. So good.
Yeah, while we're at it, the Adam Buxton podcast, that's another one. That's one that I quite enjoy. He tends to record. He must record at the start of the year and then puts them all out. And then he always does a Christmas special on Christmas Day with Adam and Joe. I don't know if you guys remember Adam and Joe, but it was like a 90s thing. So I don't know. You might not remember that as much as I did. Although Dan, we're kind of similar age, but I don't know.
I just didn't watch it, so I'm old enough to have watched it. I just didn't.
Yeah, never mind. Okay, well, we hope you've enjoyed the episode, and we thank you for joining us. And we'll see you again in the new year. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again real soon.